Hey, so this is my first ever YouTube video. The reason I'm starting this is because I've been on a journey with the Lord um, about my history with Him, and I started realizing I wanted to journal it. And I am not a good writer. I'm probably not really good speaker either, but I thought this would be the best way for me to do it, so that I could just talk it out. And I wanted to keep it for myself, but I thought also somebody out there might find this interesting. So I decided to start doing this on YouTube and making it available for people. So we'll see what happens. One of my kids are home, so they may walk in. This is not super professional. It really is just a place to discuss some things that I want to keep, and I thought maybe there's people out there, like I said, that might be interested. So my journey began in Genesis. It's a good place to start, right? So a couple years ago, I was brought to this chapter. I'm doing a video, okay? So you know when you walk in the room.
Is it going right now?
Yep. Okay, so here's the thing that caught my attention. So in Genesis 1:14, okay, so this is when the Bible's talking about when God created the heavens and the earth. And on day 4, the lights come into being. And it says in verse 14, and God said, let there be lights in the dome of the sky to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years. And let them be for the lights in the sky, the larger light to rule by the day, and the smaller light to rule by night. Okay. So here's the thing that got me on a journey. It says that one of the 4 reasons for the lights in the skies, that means the stars, the sun, and the moon, was for seasons. Now, I always thought that word meant like fall, winter, summer, and spring. I don't know who it was that highlighted this to me, but that is not what that word means. That word does not mean winter, spring, summer, or fall. So I'm going to read this to you or me in my little vlog here, my little journey that I'm videoing. Okay, so that word season in the concordance means appointment, fixed time, specifically a festival, an assembly, and the word is moed. Okay, so that is not, festival is not, an assembly is not fall, winter, spring, summer. So I started looking at, so if the lights were in the sky from before man was even on the earth, and they had a job that they were doing, and one of them was for the festivals, or for assemblies or appointments. So I started looking that word up. And from what I can tell, like I said, this is a journey, and maybe you have other information than I have. But so far on this journey, every time that word moed, or moedim, which is, I think is the plural, I don't know, is used, it is talking about an appointment, like a sacred appointment with the Lord. Specifically, some of those things are the feasts that are in the Bible. Okay, so here's the thing for me. In my history, my church history, I think my parents became Christian when I was 8. And so I've been around it that long and really involved as I got older. Like even right out of high school, I got involved in church leadership and have been a part of that ever since. And so I barely even knew what that was. Like I'd heard about feasts in the Bible, but it was just history to me. It didn't mean anything to me except it was the history of the Jewish people, which I knew are important to the Lord. So I thought that those were Jewish things. Well, the more that I started digging into it, the more I found out that they're not Jewish things. Every time one of these feasts are mentioned in the Bible, God, when he introduced them to people, he called them his feasts. So here was a problem for me. As somebody that really wants to walk with the Lord, I had to deal with something. The fact that before sin even crept into the world, before man was even created, God put the stars and the moon up into the sky and the sun, and one of the jobs was to create times when we would meet with him. Specific times. They're not random because they're based on the rotation of the moon and the sun, particularly the moon when it comes to the Hebrew calendar, which is what most of all of our Bible that we have, the people group, that's how they look, the Jewish people, the Hebrews, they looked, the moon is the one that determines their calendar. So I had to start asking myself, as a person that's in the living in 2021, back then I guess I started thinking about it in 2019, are these things that I'm supposed to be doing? If God designed the movement of the lights in the sky to determine specific times when he is trying to call an appointment with us, not just with Jewish people, because it was the Lord's feasts, why don't I know about them, and why haven't I been participating in them? Now, it's foreign. It feels weird, or it did in the beginning. It doesn't feel as weird now. It still feels a little weird because I don't really know what you're supposed to do on a lot of them because God's not super clear about them. I've kind of taken one or two at a time. We had known about Passover in our church, and we had for maybe 15 years, maybe 10 years, I can't remember for sure. And it was just a way to connect with Israel for me. And I'm now having to rethink that. I'm having to rethink a lot of things that I thought. And so this was a big one for me. This was a big thing for me to consider. That's something that God created from the beginning of time, that he put in the sky to be determined on a calendar when he wanted to meet with people that followed him. And why wasn't I doing them? And why didn't I know about them? And so my journey, these will be about 10 minutes long. My journey now is, what else don't I know in the Bible? Because I grew up in a charismatic movement that concentrated a lot on the New Testament. It didn't deny the Old Testament, but it definitely didn't put an emphasis on it for understanding and following God. And so here's my journey. So that's where it started, the Moeds. Any thoughts, any questions? I'd love to hear them. As I said, I don't have all the answers. This is just my journey, and I just invite you to come along with me if you'd like.